James, a local kid around here in Pittsburgh, CJ Thorpe. What are you looking out of him, to get out of him in his first year once he gets into your system?
Yeah, we'll see. It's kind of too early to say at this point before he showed up on campus, but he's a guy through the recruiting process that we're very excited about. He's a sharp kid. Comes from a great high school program, obviously in Pittsburgh Central Catholic. He is big, he is strong, he's physical, he's nasty. But again, that was all at the high school level. So we got to wait and see what his strength numbers are going to be like, and what type of shape he's in, and how quickly can he pick up the game. So will the things that he showed on high school film translate as a freshman? I'm not sure. We'll see, but he's a talented guy that we're excited about.
And looking kind of back at those young linemen, obviously you guys were super high on Connor McGovern, but did you ever think, that he'd make that many strides as quickly as he did? And now, he's pretty much locked in at center and all that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that. I think to ever expect a freshman to play on the O-line or the D-line, especially if we're talking about interior D-line and maybe a defensive end, is a possibility, but it's just hard just because strength and size is such a factor. So, no, I think obviously with him graduating early helped, but still it's challenging to do. But I think him being there for the spring, graduating early, I think gave him a chance.
Little things that have changed with your philosophy as far as, like little tweaks that you've made that maybe we wouldn't pick up on. I know you'd said getting more familiar with the high school coaches, and obviously that, takes time.
No, I wouldn't say we've tweaked a whole lot in terms of that overall philosophy and how we're approaching it. I think obviously just becoming more familiar with Penn State, I think is helpful. But no, I wouldn't say we've changed a whole lot in how we're approaching things and how we're doing things.
Going back to recruiting and somebody who has changed a lot since the first song, what do you remember about Aaron Monroe as that 7th grader? Because he had some memories of you when you were there with his brother.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I remember kind of his family. I remember obviously his older brother Andre, who I recruited out of for the University of Maryland, and he ended up being a great player. He was the all-time leading sack gainer in school history. Mom and Dad were awesome, and then you just remember the little brother, and I kind of always mess around with the little brothers and sisters. Lamont Wade and his little sister, I'm like this with, that's my girl. Yeah. So I just kind of remember a little kid. That's kind of really it, But I remember probably kind of messing around with them, saying, look, you're going to end up coming to play at that time, Maryland for me. But I think that's something I think that I'm really proud of is you look at, we had multiple sets of brothers that I recruited to the University of Maryland and had nice careers, and then I come to Penn State, and now the older brother, because of the relationship with the family and how they were treated and how they were taken care of, will come with us. So yeah, I just kind of remember a young little kid running around.
And the early signing period was approved yesterday. I guess because that requires a change in kind of how you do certain things. How long do you think it'll take for that to really see any effect in how Penn State does recruiting?
Well, I think it's going to affect everybody right away. I don't think it's going to have as dramatic effect as probably people think, because you're really only talking about a month or so. So it's not going to have that big of a difference. But I do think that's going to become the signing day. I think probably 85% of the prospects will sign on that day. So I think you'll see less of the first Wednesday in February theatrics on signing day. And then I think the other thing is I think it helps both parties, where the kid that changes his mind the night before signing day, that's less likely to happen. And if it does, you still have that second wave to kind of recover from it. And I think probably the same way for the prospects.
You
before the pick game this season, you said a few times that most of the people around the program had never really been a part of one of those. So it wasn't, like, they didn't really know what it was about the rivalry. Now that you've been through one, what have you kind of learned from that, or what have been kind of the experiences since then?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I think there's a lot of, you know, when you're in the same state, there's a lot of talking going on. There's a lot of stuff on social media and things like that. I think, like I said before, I think from a historical standpoint, I get it. But I wouldn't say a whole lot has changed, you know, from before the game to now. Kind of what I thought.
You mentioned yesterday that you're kind of wired a certain way where you get a commit, celebrate 30 seconds, and you're on to the next thing. Have you always been like that, you know, through, you know, as like an early coach, or is that kind of something that you've learned in, you know, as you kind of grown as a head coach?
Yeah, I don't even know if it's coaching. You know, I don't even know if it's coaching. I just kind of, I think that's kind of who I am. And we've had a discussion about it as a staff, is the staff doesn't feel like that I or we, you know, enjoy the commitments and the wins as much as we should. And they're right. But I also know as soon as you achieve that, you better get to work on the next goal. So there's a fine line in that, and taking a moment and thanking people and letting them know how much you appreciate them, and realize that we did accomplish something, but then it's time to move on. So I don't know if that's necessarily just a professional trait, you know, that I have. I think that's kind of who I am. That's probably why I said, you know, that's kind of how I'm wired, you know. But I've kind of always been like that. I remember even like in high school, like, you know, we'd have workouts. You know, in the summer you had to make a certain amount of workouts, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And I remember going to the morning workout, and then I would like be kind of sitting around during the day and have nothing really to do, so I'd go to the second workout, you know. So I kind of always just kind of, I think, kind of been that way, to be honest with you. I've been kind of very focused, especially on football. But yeah, I think that's just kind of who I am, and probably every area of my life, not just football.
Two more.
How much of that is out of your hands now through the summer months, and how much do you have to entrust Dwight Galt and his staff to kind of carry that momentum through the summer?
Yeah, I think it's two areas. It's probably more than two areas, but it's two main areas. It's the players and the type of leadership that you have that's really going to be able to push the needle. And then it's the strength staff that, you know, I think you guys know I have ultimate confidence and respect for our strength staff led by Coach Galt. So I'm very confident. I'm very confident there. And then our players. I mean, you know, you look at our captains in Trace and Jason Kabinda and Nick Scott. I'm really confident in those guys. But it's more than those guys. There's a lot of guys that have a lot of expectations and have a lot of objectives that they want to you know, achieve this year, and I think, you know, they're willing to work. You know, it was obvious, you know, really right after spring ball ended, those guys are already in there kind of on their own, and we had discretionary week where they really, you know, we didn't want them in the building, but some guys, that's just kind of their routine. They want to stick to their routines. They come in and kind of, you know, work out, get on the weights on their own, or get on the jugs machine, or whatever it may be. So I think our guys are really motivated. I think, you know, there's a fine line between the success that we had last year, but also how it ended. You know, I make the argument, you know, there's, you know, I guess there's probably, how many bowl games is there now, 40? So I guess there's 20 teams that are somewhat happy at the end of the season, but there's really only one team that's truly happy at the end of the season. You know, so I do think there's an aspect of the experiences that we had. We grew from it, but then also, you know, the last game of the year we played, you know, we didn't finish the way we would like to finish. I do think there's an aspect of that sends you into the off season, you know, still feeling unfulfilled and wanting more.